Hey, Shawn. So, beyond the technical stuff, what does it take to make your website work?
Good question. So I think to that, I'd sum it up as care and feeding of your website. And your website needs, past the technical stuff, which would be summed up as on-page or technical SEO or search engine readiness, is a lot of promotion and stuff outside so that your website can be part of your promotion of what your venture is. Put another way, what you need to do is come up with ways to publicize what you're doing and come up with an interesting take on how that might be innovative or catch the attention of somebody, whether it's somebody doing interviews or whether it's the general public who are looking for something based on your pain points. You've got to figure out how you interact and how you connect with who you're hoping to do business with. A good example is there's a great book called 4 Steps to the Epiphany, and in there it talks about whether or not you're starting off with a new business or whether you're trying to go into a mature field, and whether or not you come in with something that is revolutionary or something that otherwise wins on some other front. So you have to in some way segment and figure out what makes your business special. That's often summed up as what's called a unique selling proposition or USP. And you have to come up with what makes your service special and your site special. And it could be by geography. You could be the first person or the person with the best price point or the best services in your region. Or you could be somebody who is trying to do it in a different way and bring in something that otherwise wasn't a factor for previous businesses who had tried in the same field. And you may want to find out, maybe you're just able to deliver at a better price and it's just more economical. So you got to figure out which one of those winning points or multiple winning points you have over and above your competition. So to do that, you have to assess which one of those strengths you win on, and then you have to do the outreach step. And the outreach step is one where you find people who are influential and you share with them. The easiest place for that is to go to the media. And media is a lot broader than it used to be, where it used to be back in the day, like 25 years ago when I used to do things and promote them. You go and make a press release. It goes out in a newspaper, it runs a day to a week or a month after the fact, and then you get your publicity bump and something comes from that. Nowadays, it is definitely still newspaper, although newspapers are a little underfunded, so they don't have the same sort of attention to stories. They just seem to kind of take the lowest hanging fruit that's easiest to accomplish. So something off a newswire. So newspapers still are a thing where you send them a press release. But beyond that, you can send stuff out via things like PR Wire and other sorts of press release services. Some of them give you free service, and some of them upsell you to higher dollar points for what it is. And depending on the value, it may be worth spending a couple $100 to publicize something, because it will get out there and do a lot to really build publicity on your given thing, on your website. So with that, you can go through one of the press release services online, and I'll put links in the video. You can appear on people's podcasts. You can appear on, you do a YouTube video, kind of like this, where you publicize what you're doing. You can also write guest posts, or you could just offer advice. Another place that's really great for that, for offering advice, is Quora. And at Quora, there's a lot of questions being asked, so you can just come in and find a question that aligns with what answer you could provide that's relevant to your business, and then provide that answer. Both give a complete, full answer, but also to a lesser extent, promote what you're doing. Definitely don't make it entirely self-serving. Try to make it a really good answer from your expert position. And eventually, Quora is a long game. If you answer enough of those, you get somewhere with that. So you will find that you build more and more attention, and then it has to be a lot of attention to capitalize, because there's other people doing that. Beyond that, a very similar thing is something called Help a Reporter Out, HARO. And with that, you sign up for the service. It's free to be an interview subject. And then you figure out what your specialty is, what niche or what industry you work with. And then you get onto the list for that. And they'll send you every day, or sometimes upwards of 3 times a day, a general listings of all the inquiries coming in from reporters, as well as the one list that's specific to what your specialty is. And that one's usually a lot more useful because it's just like the 3 or 4 article prompts that could be there for you. And they'll have a question, they'll have a deadline, and you can click on the link, follow up with an email back to the reporter answering the question that's relevant to them, and it may spark an interview, in which case it could be a comparatively long interview. Nice side effect of that is if you have somebody who's out there generating articles all the time, they may come back to you as a source more often than not. So you become their expert, and then you get to have that expert marketing play that's really handy to be able to build your credibility and build your position. So that's a really key part to your care and feeding. I think on top of that, you have to look at just if you have an advertising budget. And while advertising online for a website seems like a no-brainer, it is a good way to go, but you may look at your niche and you may go, well, wait a sec, my niche is still a little bit pre-digital. And there are people who are more likely to flip open a coffee news or a local publication or a local magazine than they are to go in and go to a website or be brought in via a Facebook ad or a Google ad. So just understand your audience and understand where your audience is going to be when you're trying to get their attention and bring them over to the website. Beyond that, make sure you have enough content on your website. Part of the care and feeding is to create new content on a recurring basis, enough to have your site look fresh and look relevant. And in that, the easy way to find articles for that is respond to people's pain points. When people have a need, answer the need first to the specific person who's asking the question, but then genericize that and take out anything that might connect the topic with the person, and then answer the question for a broader audience. And then when people are out there Googling, they'll search for something where their pain point is mentioned as a phrase in your article. And then that gives Google something to latch onto and bring the traffic to your site. Eventually, if you keep talking about your subject matter, then you'll climb the ranks and become basically a subject matter expert on that topic, and Google will reward you with a lot of traffic. And then it becomes goes from being an uphill battle to kind of a lot more of a downhill battle as people start to recognize that you're the voice for that particular issue. So those are the key ways to promote or push your website once it's out there. Is make sure that you have some articles in place. Make sure that you publish articles with some frequency. Reach out to places where you can get publicity as being an interview subject. Go out there and answer questions independent of being an interview subject. So those are my general tips on how to the care and feeding, aka the promotion of your website, and how to popularize it once it's out there.
Okay, thanks for the tips.